Welcome to this AJ Sports Show, the second one of the football season. This one, I'm going to simply predict every single NFL team will do this year record-wise. It's as simple as that. I'll give you some week one matchups. I'll predict a few of them. Let's just get started of my team predictions of the seasons. Let's start with the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills. And if you're wondering how I was able to get all these records, I pretty much predicted every single game. There's a website you can do it. It's Playoff Predictors. You go there and you can pretty much make your picks of what your team's going to go and kind of do your way of how do you think the season's going to go. So let's start with the AFC East. So I have the Bills 10-7, and I have them winning the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills are going to have a very interesting season. Their offense is going to be changed a little bit with the cap. No Stephon Diggs. Matt Milano is gone for the year, so that doesn't help. You have a great tight end tandem. I like Dalton Kincaid. I like Dawson Knox. They're very good. The wide receivers will be question marks. Marcus Valdes-Scantling, he had moments, very inconsistent. Khalil Shakir had his moments. Matt Collins is meh. Curtis Samuel is a gadget kind of a guy. He'll make a play there and there. Keon Coleman's the most interesting one. The Bills really need Keon Coleman to really be productive right away. And your running backs, it's pretty much the James Cook show, and Josh Young's going to do some power running for you. The defense is probably going to have issues again. No Matt Milano for the rest of the season. No Tre'Davious White. He's gone. So it's just going to be tough for the Bills to be very good, but they still should be good. I think they still win their division. I don't know how the Jets or the Dolphins will do. And speaking of the Jets, they're my next team. I have them also 10-7, just losing the division to the Bills. The Jets are going to be kind of a hit or miss team. I think if they avoid the injuries, let's assume for the most part they avoid major injuries. They should have a good season. Aaron Rodgers, even if he's not going to be a prime Aaron Rodgers, but even let's say 2018 Aaron Rodgers, where he was just decent, it was like an off year in Aaron Rodgers standards. Even if he has that kind of a year, the Jets will still be very good. Breece Hall is one that has the potential to be a top 5 running back in the league this year. You kind of fixed some pieces on the offensive line. You signed Tyron Smith. You drafted Olu Fashanu for Penn State. You got weapons. Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, Mike Williams. Those are very good wide receivers to have. Your defense performed very well last year. We'll see how great they do. It'll definitely help them because the offense, if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, that offense will be just instantly better than what they had last year. Last year, they were chucking out Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle. They're both garbage. And the Jets just fell apart when Aaron Rodgers went down in the literal fourth play of Monday Night Football last year. So the Jets still go 10-7. The Dolphins, I have them 8-9. I think it's going to be the same thing for the Dolphins like the last 2 years. They're going to get into a hot start. And the way I predicted them, I actually have them going 6-1 to start. But then the hiccup of the schedule begins, and I think it's just going to fall apart from there. The issues is simple. The Dolphins can't seem to play in cold weather when the season gets to November, December. B, Tua Tagovailoa is either you get a Tua Tagovailoa that is just throwing 300 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns each game, or the Tua that's just inconsistent as hell. Their defense is not going to be very good. Released a lot of guys to the cap. Your linebackers, Jalen Phillips is good. Emmanuel Ogbah is solid. I don't trust your D-line when you're trusting an aging Calais Campbell. That's not going to work. Jordan Poyer and Jalen Ramsey are a good piece in the secondary. I don't know how good Kendall Fuller will be. He's kind of slowed down just a little bit. And also, the Dolphins just hasn't avoided the injury bug. Bradley Chubb gone for a little bit. The offense will still put up numbers. I don't think they're making the playoffs. I have them 8-9. Patriots, I'm not going to go too deep into detail. I have them 3-13. It's a rebuilding year. Jacoby Brissett's going to start. And the Patriots are just not going to be good. They're just not. They're rebuilding. Let's get to the AFC North. My division winner in the AFC North is Baltimore. The Ravens are going to go 13-4, I think. That is my prediction of their record. The Ravens, you got Lamar Jackson. You got Derrick Henry to use. I think Henry's going to be very good. I think Derrick Henry can have a 1,500-yard rushing season, potentially. With the offensive line, Derrick Henry can be more fresh because he doesn't need 25 carries with the offense that Baltimore has. We know Baltimore should be giving him carries. They probably will. Knowing who John Harbaugh is, they're going to give Derrick Henry carries. The wide receivers, they're a solid group. Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman are solid. Nelson Aguilar, he'll make a play in there, but he drops too many balls for my liking. Mark Andrews is one of the best tight ends in the game. Your offensive line's great. Your defense, great. When you add, we have Eddie Jackson now at defense. Him and Marlon Humphreys and Kyle Hamilton. And you got Nate Wiggins, who I think is going to be very good. I think the Ravens are going to be just as fine. I think they'll be very good. They'll have a similar year like last year. The only question that the Ravens need to answer is postseason. So I don't think everybody is waiting for the Ravens to be good in the regular season. Everybody's waiting for Baltimore to take it to the next level in the playoffs. The Bengals, I have them going 11-6. I think Burrow bounces back. They have all the weapons. Mike Gesicki should provide that spark in the tight end that they haven't had since C.J. Uzomah was there. Zach Moss, Chase Brown, and Travion Williams. That's kind of a running back by committee. Zach Moss is running back 1. The question is, your offensive line it just hasn't been the way it's. But the Bengals have been trying to address their offensive line. They went for Trent Brown last year. Him and Orlando Brown. I don't know. It just hasn't worked. It's slowly gotten better, but it's not good enough to really protect Burrow. That defense, obviously, very underrated. You even got Von Bell back. Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt are very good linebackers to have on your team. Mike Hilton's a very good corner. Daxton Hill's solid. So the Bengals will have an underappreciated defense like they have every year. I think they go 11-6. They can make some noise in the postseason when you have Joe Burrow as your quarterback and Jamar Chase, who is a top 5 receiver in football. Steelers 9-8. That might be the most predictable thing. The Steelers are the most mediocre team and one of the most mediocre teams in football. Russell Wilson's your starter. I think he'll put up similar numbers like he did last year. The issue for the Steelers is their second best receiver is Van Jefferson. George Pickens will have a few games where he goes off, but Pickens will also have games where he produces nothing. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are great. Cordell Patterson will be interesting how they use him. Arthur Smith is definitely going to see a lot more targets for Pat Freiermuth because Jonnu Smith was getting targets over Kyle Pitts last year in the Falcons. That's just Arthur Smith. He likes using the tight ends, the play action passes. So the Steelers' offense will just be below average. They're not going to be turnover prone, but they're going to have games where they just won't gain nothing. The defense will be pretty good. I like Peyton Wilson from NC State. We'll see how he does. Patrick Queen is your big guy, your big signing. He should fill that linebacker hole because the linebackers, it was a problem there. T.J. Watt's very good. I think he should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year, in my opinion. Cameron Hayward's still decent. Highsmith is a very good pass rusher, and their corners are pretty solid. So, a 9-8 season for the Steelers. And I have them falling just short in the playoffs. The Browns, 8-9. I just do not think Deshaun Watson returns to form. And this is basically what's going to be for Cleveland. Cleveland can only make the playoffs, really, if Deshaun Watson returns most of that Texans form. And they got wide receivers to do it. Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy. Even though Jerry Jeudy was kind of underachieving with the Broncos, maybe a change of scenery can potentially help with that issue. Because he doesn't have to be the number one target. Elijah Moore could be your third guy out there. David Njoku's obviously a Pro Bowl caliber tight end. Your defense was scary last year. Myles Garrett wreaking havoc. JOK, one of the best linebackers out there. Now you got a veteran Jordan Hicks. He's probably not going to do much. He's past his day, but yeah. Anyways, corners are good. Secondary is pretty solid. Very good defense. Unfortunately, I do think the defense takes a little bit step back because they were kind of playing over their heads last year. And I just don't see Deshaun Watson returning to form. I just don't see it. So, I have the Browns 8-9. Sorry you're not making the playoffs like you did last year. Now to the AFC South. My division winner for the AFC South is the Texans. I think they go 12-5. CJ Stroud is going to be, in my opinion, an MVP caliber quarterback for the 2024 season. He's set up. You go get Joe Mixon. You grab Stephon Diggs after Stephon Diggs was kind of a malcontent with the Bills in those final stretches of last year. You still got Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Robert Woods as a depth. We'll see how John Mechie does. John Mechie really, what a way to start your career. An injury and then you get a cancer, just brutal start of your career. Dalton Schultz is a very good tight end. The offensive line played better than when we fought last year. We thought that offensive line was going to be awful with all the injuries, but they, for the most part, held their own. They weren't great, but CJ Stroud, for the most part, was kept upright enough to make plays. The defense is optimistic. Will Anderson Jr. looks to be very good. With some couple guys like Derek Barnett and old Jerry Hughes. You got Danielle Hunter now, which really helps your pass rushing. Derek Stingley is quickly becoming a very good corner. Jeff Okudah just hasn't panned out. Maybe he gets things back on track. I don't know. Jimmy Ward is one of the best safeties out there. And with Eric Murray. So, Houston Texans, I think they go 12-5. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I do think they kind of will get it together. I think they finish the year 10-7. I think Trevor Lawrence will have kind of a bounce back season. Last year was kind of a wash. Last year the Jaguars were winning games, just did not look impressive doing it. Then you had a second half collapse. Missed the playoffs entirely. Not much really changed for the Jaguars. The biggest thing they did was draft Brian Thomas. I think he's going to be pretty solid. You got Christian Kirk. You got Gabe Davis from the Bills. So Gabe Davis is kind of your Calvin Ridley replacement. Evan Ingram's been playing very well as a Jag. Didn't do well with the Giants. He's doing pretty good with the Jaguars. The defense, Josh Allen is wreaking havoc out there in a decent defense. Phil Sada, Lucon's a decent linebacker. In your corners, not really well names out there, but they're out there. The Jaguars should be pretty good. And if they do not do good, Not going to look good for Doug Peterson as head coach. The Indianapolis Colts, I think they're going to go 9-8. I actually have the Colts start very slow. I think I have them starting 2-6. Their schedule is just brutal. And I think Anthony Richardson's going to look bad for the first few games because the guy is rusty, didn't have a chance to work on his mechanics, had to spend the entire offseason rehabbing. But the schedule kind of gets easier as the second half goes around. So I do think they do finish with a winning record. Unfortunately, the winning record is the same record they had last year, which is they're missing the playoffs. I do think Jonathan Taylor will have a Pro Bowl season again. The wide receivers get a little bit improved with A.D. Mitchell. He should be exciting to watch. Your tight ends is going to be Mo Alley Cox, Colin Granson, Will Mallory. The offensive line did very well last year. Poorly in 2022. Got back to that form in 2023. I think they'll do well in 2024. Defense. The front seven is going to be pretty good because of guys like DeForest Buckner, Zaire Franklin, and Grover Stewart. Laiatu Latu should have a pretty solid season for a rookie. He looks very promising. But that secondary is going to have issues. It's basically just Julian Blackmon and Kenny Moore. I have no confidence in that secondary. And Anthony Richardson's going to be inconsistent. Because of this, the Colts will finish 9-8. The Tennessee Titans. I have them finishing 3-14. They're just not that good, in my opinion. Will Levis, I think, is a bust. Tony Pollard, I think, is going to be less efficient on the Titans rather than the Cowboys. I mean, you do have Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, and Calvin Ridley. That's actually not a bad receiving room. The problem is Hopkins isn't getting any younger. And Tyler Boyd, he does not look like he's what he was a couple years ago. That defense may be sneaky solid, especially with the addition of L'Jarius Sneed. Amani Hooker was good. Quandre Diggs. Darrell Baker Jr., Jamal Adams, Chobi Amuzui. So the Titans are going to have a very good secondary. Unfortunately, that offense just doesn't look inspiring. Will Levis is probably going to be turnover prone. And by the way, your backup is Mason Rudolph. So, yeah, the Titans doesn't have good alternatives. Now to the AFC West. I think the Chiefs go 13-4. They're going to win it again. They're just by far the best team in the AFC West. You still got Mahomes. You still got Kelsey. You still got guys on the offensive line. Their defense is still going to be very good. Why? Because Steve Spagnuolo is your defensive coordinator, and he's one of the best out there. Your wide receiver group is a little bit interesting. You added Marquise Hollywood Brown. You drafted Xavier Worthy. Rashid Rice, although his offseason has been a disaster. You just added Juju Smith. He's going to be where he's at best. Third or fourth best receiver. That's just Juju Smith-Schuster for you. And welcome back to the NFL, Matt Araiza. Dear God, all of us owe that guy an apology. Good Lord. Yeah, anyways, Chiefs 13-4, AFC West. I think the closest team that they're not even going to make things interesting, but I think they're going to do well. The Raiders, I think they go 8-9. They're just a mediocre team. You're starting Gardner Minshew, who's solid. Aiden O'Connell was up and down. What's really going to hurt is the loss of Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs looked rough behind that offensive line that the Raiders just was not getting it done. That offensive line last year just wasn't very good. But you still got weapons out there. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and Brock Bowers. You drafted him in the first round. I think Bowers is going to be great right away. He's that good. In your defense is going to play hard-nosed defense, especially when you have a guy named Max Crosby on your team. Christian Wilkins, you guys grabbed from Miami. For secondary, got a couple guys like Nate Hobbs, Marcus Epps. Your linebackers, I really don't know your linebackers. I didn't watch a ton of Raiders games last year. But the only thing I knew of the Raiders is they played like you would think you would see of the Raiders. Hard-nosed football. A gritty team. That's what you always think of the Raiders in the past. And you're going to get that. Unfortunately, the talent is just not there. So they're going 8-9. The Chargers, they're going to go 6-11. The issue is, who's your wide receivers? Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnson, DJ Shark. They're just not going to get it done. I like Will Disley and Hayden Hurst as tight ends, but they're just meh. Justin Herbert is going to still do good because he's Justin Herbert. But I do like the running backs they have. I do like J.K. Dobbins. I like Gus Edwards. You're going to see a more running the football approach. That's just any Jim Harbaugh team. You saw it with the 49ers. You saw it with Michigan. The Chargers are going to run the football more. Justin Herbert will still throw 30-35 times per game. But it's going to be a little bit more of the running game. And that offensive line, you grab Joe Alton to draft him and Rashawn Slater. That should be a very good 1-2 punch at the tackle position. So the offensive line is being invested. The defense, yes, Khalil Mack was playing out of his mind. And Joey Bosa is Joey Bosa. But not much after that. Your linebackers are nothing special. Your secondary with Asante Samuel Jr. and Derwin James, that's a solid secondary. I don't think it's going to be that much enough. So the Chargers are going 6-11. Broncos, 4-13. They're rebuilding. Bill Nix is going to be hit or miss. Your running game is basically just Javonte Williams. Your wide receivers are actually not nearly that bad. Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds, and Marvin Mims, those are good weapons to work with. Your tight ends pretty much non-existent. Your defense was terrible in the first half of the season. They did kind of get it together in the second half of the season. I think they're going to be bad again this year. The only really bright spot on that defense is Patrick Surtain. And maybe one or two good plays from Levi Wallace. Pass rushing is not there. Middle linebacker's not really all there. They're just rebuilding. It's just that simple. So that would be my prediction to AFC West. So basically here are my seeds. Ravens get the 1 seed. They'll get a bye. Chiefs get the 3rd seed. Not the 2nd seed, actually. The Texans will get the 3rd seed. Bills get the 4th. And your free wildcard teams, Bengals, Jaguars, Jets. Those are my playoff teams of the AFC. Let's get to the NFC. Let's start with the NFC East. So my division winner will be the Cowboys. They'll go 10-7. It's going to be the same crap of what you're going to see at the Cowboys. They're going to be a solid regular season team. Dak Prescott will still put up good numbers in the regular season. The running game is going to be interesting. Dalvin Cook is in your practice squad. I don't know why you have Dalvin Cook as your practice squad. I would start him at week 1. Because it's basically just Zeke and Deuce Vaughn. Unless you're that confident in Deuce Vaughn, your running game is going to regress. Wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, very good. No Michael Gallup this year. That's going to hurt. Jake Ferguson's a very good tight end. You still have a pretty good offensive line. Even though you did lose Tyron Smith. I think that will be a blow. If you can replace him you did grab Tyler Guyton. If you can find a way to replace him, it wouldn't be too bad. DeMarcus Lawrence, is your pass rusher. Guys like Eric Kendricks. You still got Micah Parsons. Michael Parsons is an outside linebacker, but he plays more edge. Your secondary, you did lose Deron Bland. That's going to be a blow. Trevon Diggs, Jordan Lewis, Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson. Those are just not the most inspiring secondary. So the Cowboys will take a step back, but they'll still make the playoffs with a 10-7 record. The Eagles will have the same record, they just won't be division winners. The Eagles, they're going to miss Jason Kelce. I think their offense takes a little step back. And Jalen Hurts will be still good, but that whole tush-push thing is going to take a step back. It's still, they're still going to work a few times because you got Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts can power a few yards. But without a Jason Kelce, who's one of the best centers ever, that's going to take a step back. But you did get Saquon Barkley. That offensive line is still good. He should do well. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith is as good as a 1-2 wide receiver punch it gets. Dallas Goedert's a Pro Bowl tight end. Their defense was not good last year. I think that changes. I think with Vic Fangio instead of Matt Patricia, I think the defense plays pretty good again. And you got C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. And you did draft Cooper DeJean from Iowa. Darius Slay, even though he's took a step back, I still have little hopes for Kaylee Ringo to be very good. So the Eagles 10-7. The Commanders, I have them at 6-11. The Commanders they're going to take a little step up. They're just not that good. But Jay Daniels will have his moments. He'll have his not so good moments. It's basically a developing year for the Commanders if they can get it right. If they can make the right moves, continue to develop their players, they can potentially be something. I don't know how that's going to work. Dan Quinn just doesn't seem like a guy to do it. But the biggest thing for the Commanders is this is your year 2 of the Josh Harris tenure as owner. That entire cancer metastasize of Dan Snyder is gone. Giants, I'm not going to go explain much of the Giants. You are trash. You're going 5-12. Daniel Jones is a bust. Your best running back is Steven Singletary. Good luck with that. I do like Jalen Hyatt and Malik Neighbors. I think that's a good group. Your defense is going to be hit or miss. You're 5-12. There's no need to discuss about you. On to the NFC North. My division winner, Detroit Lions. They are going to go 12-5. Jared Goff is back to form. You have great running backs. Your wide receiver group is pretty good. Amon-Ra St. Brown is still there. You still got Jameson Williams. Hopefully Jason Williams does better. Donovan Peoples-Jones is out there. Although, why is he on the practice squad? I would put Donovan Peoples-Jones as starting, in my opinion. Don't know. But Lions, I would put him on an active roster. Sam Laporta was a very good tight end. That offensive line's very good. That defense, that secondary got toasted last year. It has to improve. Now, you did draft Terrion Arnold, but you did lose C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So, that defense has to show improvement. If not, I don't know how the Lions will do in the playoffs. The defense has to make stops. As for Green Bay, I have them 11-6. I think Jordan Love plays pretty good again. You still got good wide receivers. A nice selection of tight ends. Your offensive line's good, not great. Good enough to keep Love upright. That defense is very good. Guys like Rashawn Gary, Caden Kenny Clark, Preston Smith, Clay Walker as your linebackers, Jair Alexander, one of the best, if not the best, corner in the game. Xavier McKinney, you brought him from the Giants. The Packers will be very good this year. The Bears, I have them 9-8. The Bears are going to be a very interesting team because they have a pretty high floor and a pretty little low ceiling. It's going to be the first year of Caleb Williams. Let's see if Caleb Williams can break the trend of terrible Bears quarterbacks. Because it was almost illegal for the Bears to even have a good quarterback. But Caleb Williams, Bears fans can hope he'll break that mold. You got good running backs, Rashawn Johnson and DeAndre Swift. Your wide receiver group is loaded. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Romeo Duzé. You got some pedigree at the tight ends positions. Your offensive line looked better last year. Here, it has to keep Caleb Williams upright. That defense looked nasty last year. I think they can kind of do it again. You still got Jalen Jones out there, Terrell Smith, Jalen Johnson, who was very good last year. So I think the Bears will go 9-8. They'll be pretty good. But in a tough division and just being a young team, they'll fall just short of the playoffs. Vikings 5-12. I'm not going to explain that much to the Vikings. They're injured to hell. You're going to miss Kirk Cousins. J.J. McCarthy, I just do not have hope for the guy. Their defense is shredded. Your offense is pretty much just Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson. You're screwed. To the NFC South, I had the Falcons winning that division. I think the Falcons will do better. They just simply have much better coaching. Kirk Cousins is just 50 times better than Desmond Ridder. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier are good running backs. Drake London and Darnell Mooney, they'll actually be used. Kyle Pitts hopefully can start getting used. That defense is pretty solid. It's not that great, but it's pretty good. He did add Matthew Judon. We'll see if he can bounce back from his injury last year. I do think the Falcons take that division. The Buccaneers, I have them going 9-8. The issue I have for the Buccaneers is no running game. Baker Mayfield's going to do pretty good again. I think he's going to do well. Unfortunately, Rachaad White is not very good of a running back. You don't even have a good offensive line. You really miss Kellen Jansen. Your wide receivers are pretty good. Cade Otton was a good tight end last year. Your defense was decent. And I think it's going to be that again. They're just going to be a decent defense. I don't see anything better than a 9-8 season. The Saints, 7-10. That roster's aged. Derek Carr's not the answer. Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams are just not going to mesh well. Not much to explain to the Saints. Defense is pretty decent, but you're injured. Injury-prone team. And Dennis Allen needs to be fired. Dennis Allen's just not an NFL head coach. We saw it with the Raiders. We're seeing it here. Just not built for the NFL. Carolina Panthers, I'm not going to do much explaining. You're in 3-14. Your owner is an absolute embarrassment. And David Tepper, you are going to ruin Bryce Young. You got nobody for weapons. Your best running back is Miles Sanders. Hooray! Your offensive line is garbage. And your defense doesn't even exist. Yeah, you're going to suck until David Tepper stops being a massive idiot and making a fool out of himself and not fire coaches left and right. As past his expiration date, Frank Reich he was going to do nothing with that talent. Absolute nothing. So, Carolina, there it is. Lastly, the NFC West. My division winner is San Francisco. I have them going 13-4. That 49ers team is still loaded. I think this might be their last real shot because the cap is about to hit them next year. If they can just avoid the injuries, they are almost a lock to the NFC Championship game. The Rams, I have them 10-7. If Matthew Stafford just can stay healthy, that's going to be a good Rams team. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp is as good as it gets. Kyren Williams, very good. You got Cody Schrader and Blake Corum. That's a little something you work with. Your defense is going to take a hit. You don't have Aaron Donald anymore. He retired. So I do think the defense does take a step back. But Sean McVay knows how to win. And he knows how to run an offense. That offense is going to be good. All the Rams need to do is stay healthy. And they'll go 10-7. Seahawks, I have them 9-8. I have them falling just short in the playoffs. Just nothing inspiring. Geno Smith is going to be okay again. He's not going to be 2022 Geno Smith. I mean, yes, you have a DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jimba, and an aging Tyler Lockett. Noah Fant's a good tight end. That defense just is not really all there. And it's new head coach, new era. So the Seahawks, I have them going 9-8. They'll still be relatively decent, but not much after that. The Cardinals, I actually have them 6-11. I don't know. I think they'll overachieve a little bit this year. They're rebuilding. Kyler Murray, hopefully he plays a full season. You have Marvin Harrison Jr. to work with. Unfortunately, not that much after that. The Cardinals are going to play hard. We saw that last year. Just not that much talent. So I have them going 6-11. So as for the seedings of my prediction, I have the Niners clinch the 1 seed. Lions grab the 2 seed. Falcons get the 3rd. Cowboys 4. Yeah, the Cowboys would get the 4 seed and Falcons get the 3rd seed. That's just how the website just went at it. So the Falcons will get the tiebreaker because I haven't beaten the Cowboys. So that's why the Falcons are the 1st seed. Your wild card teams: Packers, Eagles, Rams. Those are my wild card teams. So that is my season predictions, my team by team, what I think they're going to do. Last year didn't really go as well for me. A ton of injuries derailed that. So that was fun. So those are my predictions. And that'll be it for this episode. Thanks for watching.